Good morning, everybody. This is Eddie Taylor with the Northern Santa Barbara County United Way. We're back at United Voices, Community Conversations. And today we've got a special guest, Sue Anderson, who is the president of not just one hospital, but three, if I get them all right: Marion, Arroyo Grande, and French hospitals. And we are here with Jacob Martin, our producer. And we're going to give Sue a moment to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about you and maybe about, I don't know, let's go with, did you grow up here?
So, hi, Eddie. Thanks for inviting me. And no, I didn't. I grew up in Southern California, and my husband and I were driving through this area one time, and I said, "Oh, hey, the organization I work for has a hospital here. It happened to be French Hospital up in San Luis Obispo." And we both agreed that if a job opportunity ever came up there, that we would jump at it, and it did. And so I went there as the chief financial officer. So I have lived here since the early 1990s. So I have
Uh,
been here many, many
I
years.
think a lot of us are really glad you jumped.
Oh,
It's,
thanks. Thank you
yeah,
very
it's worked
much.
out well for you. It's worked out well for our community too.
It
So,
has. And in 23 years ago, I took on Marion Hospital. I was the chief financial officer, but then eventually in 2018 moved to the CEO role. But it's been so great to be a part of the community here in the greater Santa Maria Valley.
and you didn't have to perform two roles, CFO and CEO, at the same time. They gave you the title and said you don't have to do the other job anymore.
Yeah, no, thank
Yeah,
goodness. We
really.
hired Matt Richardson,
Yeah,
who many people in this area
yeah.
know, who did grow up in this area, and he's a tremendous CFO for
I
us.
might like to bring Matt in sometime, Sue, because I want to do a series of growing up in Santa Maria. There are guys like, I think of Dennis Smitherman, who's been with the city his entire career,
Yeah.
right? He grew up here, he works for the city, he'll retire here, raise a family here, everything. So I'm thinking about doing something like that. Maybe I'll reach out to you about connecting with Matt at some time in the future.
That would be great.
But I thought, we've got a couple of topics that we want to cover with Sue. And as most of you know who are listening, we break these into sessions. So you only have to listen for 7 to 10 minutes to me and Sue talking. And we want to cover a lot of material. And then we'll take a break. We'll come back and do another session. And I thought we'd start with reach, because reach has become such a, it's almost become synonymous with Central Coast. It's grown so incredibly in 5 years. I know that you took over as president of the board or
I
chair
am,
of the
yes.
board.
I'm the chair of the board for a few more months. And then actually, someone from Amazon in Santa Barbara County will take over as the new chair. But Reach, I got involved in Reach, and those that don't know, Reach is an economic uh, uh, basically, it's an entity that was formed several years ago when Diablo Canyon, there was all the talk
Right.
about
Yep.
shutting down Diablo Canyon, and many members of the community realized that, wow, this was just going to happen. And we were going to lose thousands of jobs in the area. And there really wasn't anybody working to see how we bring in other jobs to the area or what else what we can offer to people to replace these jobs that we're going to lose in at Diablo Canyon, and also the impact something like that has on an
Yeah.
economy
Everywhere,
everywhere.
including us.
You're right. So founders got together and each donated money. They were all business owners and all throughout the Central Coast. And from there, it's grown tremendously over the last 5 years.
I didn't realize it had started basically a, as a contingency plan for what would happen with the impacts of Diablo, but I know what it's grown into. We both are engaged with Econ Alliance
Uh huh.
here with Northern Santa Barbara Economic Vitality, but it just seems like Reach has grown into a economic vitality juggernaut, if it seems, because there's so much going on. Can you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about maybe the medical or the health related field? I mean, just that there are 6 areas I think that they
Y-
focus on.
Yeah. So basically, REACH covers all of Santa Barbara County and all of San Luis County. And, with a lot of the major things that are happening here, Vandenberg Spaceport, the continuance now of Diablo Canyon, and those entities bring so many other businesses to our area. Even the wind product,
Yes. Yeah.
the wind energy, everything. Um, and when I first got involved in Reach, I looked at it because although at that time I was just with Marion Hospital, Marion and Arroyo Grande, and our employees all lived all up and down the coast. We have people from the North
Yep.
County of San Luis Obispo down through Goleta, really, that work at our hospital. So we are a region here, and when we work in silos, like each
Yes.
city working alone, that's really not how we operate anymore. We cross borders for sure, and one area's success can be a success for the whole area
Exactly.
too.
What's good for them is good for us.
Right.
Before COVID, we pulled together. It was the Hutton Foundation. Parker, he pulled together a conversation mid county to bring the two areas of Santa Barbara County together and say, okay, in philanthropy, here's what's going on. Right. So I'm involved in a philanthropic organization, and we look at the need in northern Santa Barbara County and the wealth in southern Santa Barbara County. And what they brought to the table for discussion, and there's three of us on the panel, uh, was the fact that there's 50 million, 55 million raised in Santa Barbara County, and 80% of it is raised in South County, and 80% of the need is in North County. And how do we
Hmm.
close the gap between philanthropy and the need for investment? And my comment was simple: we need to make the county smaller. Have to stop this separation. What's good for Santa Barbara is good for Santa Maria and vice versa. What's good for Santa Barbara County, as you said, good for San Luis Obispo
Yes,
County.
such a good point.
And
But I
and
remember during COVID too, we used to have weekly Zoom meetings with various leaders
oh
from
yeah,
the area where
yeah,
we would talk through, and it was interesting because although COVID was a pandemic from a healthcare standpoint, it really impacted every single
everybody.
business,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. I remember those conversations and talking about the impacts on our sector. I think what I'd like to hear about, Sue, from your perspective as your outgoing president, where's Reach going next? What's in the future for us?
Right. So we've been working on the next 5-year plan because the reason that REACH was brought together still exists today. Um, we have to have, as we know, housing is so important.
Amen.
We need more housing for the people to be able to live and work here. We need affordable housing because, people aren't going to come here and work without affordable housing. The tech sector is really, I mean, there's so much potential for the future with around Vandenberg, but
Yeah.
also just there are these small businesses in our area that are doing incredible work on the tech side. And we want to continue to promote tech in this area. We want people to want to come here and bring their businesses here because Reach's goal is for good paying jobs. And these tech jobs are good paying. Healthcare, same way. We need every day
Family
we have
jobs. Yeah.
all kinds of
Mhm.
openings for whether it's techs or RNs or all the specialties and all and physicians we bring here. But Reach really tries to work on not only the infrastructure that's needed for all of that, like there's been talk recently about by Vandenberg and all that not only do they need housing, but we need to make sure we have the infrastructure from
Yeah.
an electrical
Yep.
standpoint. So, how do we work together to make that happen, make this a desirable place? We all love living here. And, to grow and prosper, we need to have the infrastructure, the housing, the schools. A lot of what has been Reach has been doing is trying to bring parties together, like the Allen Hancock College and Cal
The
Poly,
4-year
where
degree.
a degree
Yeah.
can be offered
Yep.
on the Allen Hancock
Yeah.
campus.
That's a long time coming.
I know, and Reach is kind of behind the scenes on a lot of these things, trying to bring parties together, trying to be a connector. The other thing Reach is good at is bringing people to our area that might not otherwise come to our area, political, whether it's lobbyists for on the federal level or state dignitaries. We've had a number of visits from Dee Dee Myers, who's the head of GoBiz for
Hmm. Hmm.
California. She's well aware of us. I think it's really elevated us in the state as far as an area for development.
Looking at the growth that they've gone through, and again, my first statement was just in 5 years. It's an incredible trajectory that they've grown on. So let's wrap this session up. Just maybe a final comment about maybe a vision 20 years from now, what Reach looks like. And then we're going to move on to a different topic in our next session when you come back and talk about literacy and health, because there's a pretty cool relationship that goes on right here in
There is.
literacy and health.
Yeah. So the next 20 years, I think hopefully we will have clean, sustainable energy here. We'll have housing that meets the needs of our population, so that when somebody graduates from Cal Poly, Allen Hancock, Cuesta, whatever, they can stay here. They can live here and work here.
Yes.
That there's
Yeah.
good jobs for them, and that we have an amazing spaceport. And it's important to keep Vandenberg. We have to have the
Yes.
infrastructure around it to really build the business there so that it doesn't build up other places like on the East Coast,
And we
or
have those threats.
we do.
Alabama, Texas,
Right,
and other regions.
exactly.
Yeah. Sue Anderson, thank you for coming in. This has been Eddie Taylor with United Way, United Voices, Community Conversations, and Sue Anderson from Marion, Arroyo Grande, and
French hospital.
French
Yep.
Hospital. Thank you, Sue.
Thanks.